and let's talk about solving radical equations. All right. In order to solve a radical equation, we must eliminate the radical sign. So we say that the inverse of a radical is a square. So essentially, all you're doing is squaring both sides. All right, you're squaring both sides. Now, when you square both sides, what happens to the square and the square root? They cancel each other out. That is exactly right. So now you're left with negative x is equal to, what's 5 squared? 25. And now to eliminate the negative, you just change the sign. So x equals negative 25. Anybody have any issues with x being negative 25? All right, now if you want to check your answer, which you should get in the habit of doing for square roots, because sometimes you can get no solution. What happens if I plug negative 25 in? I get positive 25. And does the square root of 25 equal 5? The answer is yes. All right. So look at number 4. What do I have to do to both sides? Square both sides. So now I'm left with 4y equals, what's 6 squared? 36. And then 36 divided by 4. So y equals 9. Everybody okay with that? Any questions? Pretty easy. You're right. It's really simple. All right. It gets harder at the end. The last 4 or 5 problems are actually a little challenging, but these are not. All right. So again, how do I get rid of this square root? Square both sides. All right. Now here's what you have to remember from the test. If I square 3, I get what? 9. If I square the square root of 5, I get what? Yes. So 9 times 5 is? So 45 equals negative n, correct? And so my answer is just n equals negative 45. Anybody have any issues with that? All right, now, number 8, you need to put a little star by this one, highlight a little bit. The reason that these have been easy is because the radical has been isolated already. All right. So step number 1 is technically to isolate the square root, which means this positive 2 needs to go over here. So now I want you to just write the square root of 5a equals negative 2. Does everybody agree with that? Is everybody okay? Can the square root equal a negative? No. That's why this is no solution. So everybody stop there for a second. Can the square root equal a negative? Right? No matter what I do, you're always going to get a positive answer when you take the square root. That's why for number 8, it's no solution. Everybody okay with that? All right, so you got to remember that little rule. Square roots cannot be negative. All right, now we're back to normal. Number 10, what do I have to do to both sides? Square and square. So what happens to the radical? Cancels. And what's 4 squared? Now everybody can do the mental math here. What does k equal? K equals 6. Anybody have any issues with that? That's not bad. All right, let's look at number 12. Is it isolated? No. So I have to move the negative 4 over to the right side so the radical's by itself. Right, so it just becomes positive. So now I'm just going to write the square root of 4x minus 4 equals 4. Now, what do I do to both sides? Square. 4x minus 4 equals what? 16. So, yep, x equals how many?
5.
5. Is everybody okay with that? What? What's the matter, Oscar? Oscar, what you're telling me is you're struggling solving 4x minus 4 equals 16.
Wouldn't you subtract 4 from?
No, because when you move it over, it's responsible.
Yeah, guys, I'm not sure what you're
okay,
doing.
Sorry.
You're adding 4 to both sides. Oscar, is that good? 16 plus 4 is how much? And then, come on now. That's the first week of school. We solve 4x minus 4 equals 16. All right, number 14, what am I doing to both sides? Squaring. So I have m over 3 equals how much? 9. Now, how do I get rid of dividing by 3?
Times.
Yeah, so m is just what? M is 27. That's how easy. All right, very, very easy. All right, now what I want you to do is kind of like I did. 16 through 24 just requires a little bit more work. All right, it's not that it's that hard, especially if you know how to factor. Again, if you don't know how to factor, this is just a nightmare. So I'm going to try to teach you if you forgot or you never was very good at factoring. I'll help you out again with factoring. All right, please pay attention. All right, these are the only ones that cause a little bit of trouble. You got to be real careful. All right, again, how do I get rid of a square root? Square both sides. Thank you. So I'm going to put a 2 here and a 2 here. So I have d squared equals what? Yes, 12 minus d. Yes. Now you have a quadratic. So in order to solve a quadratic, you have to set it equal to 0. So that means I have to move the negative d over, and I have to move the 12 over. So that becomes d squared. What happens to minus d? Plus d. What happens to positive 12? Minus 12 equals 0. Please, everybody, look at that and see if you're understanding. Now we just do what to both sides? Not do what to both sides, I'm sorry. We factor. And how do I break down d squared? Yep. How do I break down 12 so it's 1? Yes, 4 and 3, and exactly what he said. I want the 4 to be positive and the 3 to be negative. Now from there, you should be able to say, right, I'm just going to solve that. So d equals what? Come on, d would equal -4, or d could equal 3. Does everybody see that? Anybody have any issues with that? Now look, now we have some problems. All right, now we have a problem because, again, I want everybody to highlight the -4 down here. Everybody highlight the -4 for me. If I plug -4 in for d, again, if I plug in -4 for d, Can a square root equal a negative? No. So this right here is called an extraneous solution. That does not work. -4 does not work. Does 3 work? Yeah, because you can set equal to a positive. Is everybody with me on this? So here's where kids make mistakes. The only answer is 3. D equals -4 is an extraneous solution. All right, so let's look at 18. All right, here's 18. I'll just move off to the side a little bit. All right, here we go. So what do I have to do to both sides? Square both sides. When I square both sides, I get 6p minus 8 equals p squared. Thank you very much. That's a quadratic, so I want the quadratic to be set equal to 0. So I'm moving the 6p over here, and I'm moving the -8 over. When I do that, the 6p becomes minus, and the -8 becomes +8. Everybody okay with that? Now we got to factor this. That's correct.
-4, -2.
-4 and -2.
So P with 2 and
Now, are both of those going to work? Yeah, because they're both what? They're both positive. Everybody agree with me? Everybody okay with that? All right, here we go. Okay, 20 is a little bit challenging. All right, 20 is a little challenging. All right, squaring both sides. So what do I have?
8 minus 6 squared.
Say it again.
8 minus 2 equals 3 squared minus 6 squared.
All right, so we got to be careful. I want everybody to put down d minus 8 times d minus 8. Now we're going to multiply. D times d is what? D squared minus 8d minus 8d and then positive 64. Does everybody see that? So now again, these combine. Right, so that's going to be d squared minus 16d plus 64. Did everybody see that? All right, so again, this step right here was challenging. And then I'm just going to bring the 8 minus d over. Did everybody see what I did? I just brought this piece back over here. Now it's quadratic, so we need to set it equal to 0. So d squared, I'm going to add d. So if I add a d to -16, that becomes what? Come on, guys. If I add d, what is that? Negative what? Yes, negative 15d. And if I subtract 8,
56.
thank you. Very good, very good. So now factor that. What does that become?
8.
Close.
Forget I said.
No, that's not bad.
Oh, wait, 7 and 8.
7 and 8 makes 15. So this is D, and it would be what?
Negative, both are negative, -7, -8.
That is correct. So now my answer here is D equals,
7 equals 8.
and D equals 8. Now look up here, please. Highlight, and then put it right up here. Can 7 work?
No, no.
No, because it will be 7 minus 8, which is what? -1. So 7 does not work. Now let's look at 8. Yeah, can the square root be 0?
No.
Yeah, square root of 0 is 0. So does that work? Yes, so that one is correct. All right, D equals 8. All right, now I'm going to grab 22. It's not any harder, really. They just have to do one little thing. So what do I have to do for this guy? What do I have to do to the +3? You move it to the other side. So now I have the square root of y minus 1 equals y minus 3. Now I want you to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to give you like 2 minutes. I want you to do the same thing for 22 as you did with 21. All right, everybody try that real quick. I'm really recommending they just turn off your iPad, seriously. I don't think you should be allowed to use it. All right, so again, let's just see. I don't want you making any mistakes. So let's go ahead. We square both sides. That's all right. I'm not going to finish the problem. I just want to make sure. If I square both sides, I want y minus 1 equals,
Y to the second plus 9 minus 3y minus 2.
which is,
Y to the second plus 9 minus 6y.
yay, very good. But I'd like you to put it in order.
Sorry.
That's perfect. Anybody have any issues with that? Y squared minus 6y plus 9. Anybody? I don't mind showing you how y minus 3 times y minus 3. All right, now from there it's a quadratic, so you set it equal to 0. So that means I'm moving this y over, and I'm moving the -1 over. So that gives me 0 equals y squared. What will be next?
Y squared minus 5y.
Minus what? Minus 7y
7y plus 8.
plus 10.
What? Let's say, oh.
Right? Don't worry. It's good to try. It's good to try. All right, it's always the opposite sign when you move it. The positive y becomes negative y. And now we're just factoring. Somebody tell me what happens when I factor here. Oscar, I can't hear you. Yes, sir. Yep, -5 and -2. So my answers so far, y equals 5, y equals 2. Now, if I plug 5 in, come on. Does 5 work? Yes, 5 does work. Does 2 work?
No.
2 does not work.
Y equals 5.
So the only answer is y equals 5. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so now let's take a look at 24. 24 is the same. All right, 24 is the same. Okay, look at that real quick. That's the first step. See if you're good with the first step. Anybody have any problems with the first step?
I tried to do it mentally. So that the lines still was-
What's the matter? Come on.
I fixed it.
4z.
Yeah, because remember, it's z minus 2 times z minus 2. Minus 2 is minus 4, right?
Yeah.
Wait.
Now move everything over. So z squared, somebody tell me. What would it be?
Oh, cool. 6 squared minus 17.
Plus what?
10.
Yay, good job. All right, there you have it. Now we're going to factor that. Come on.
Z minus 5, z minus 2, z equals 5, and then z equals 2. I already checked it for both of them.
Look, honestly, if you understand that, and I'm not, you're good. You're a good algebra student. All right, there's a lot going on there. You got to square a binomial. You got to solve an equation, solve a quadratic, check your answers. If you understand that, it's all easy. It's very good. All right. That's actually extremely hard, believe it or not. Extremely hard. All right. So feel free to ask a question if you have something. Anybody? Yes, sir. Because if you plug 5 in, 5 minus 2 is 3. It's positive. The square root can equal a positive. Right?
Mr. Stroud, do you want to take a moment to marvel at my genius again? Uh-oh. All right, so this is what I did this time. This is surprising. I got it correct. I was 100% correct. But then I thought I got it wrong because I couldn't read my own handwriting because my Z's look
Like
exactly
twos.
like my 5s.
Yes. You
And
know,
how do you make your Z look like a
look, look.
Come over here and look. and
That's
you'll
why,
see.
no, listen, I don't have time. That's why you put a little mark between it. All right. That's why when you make a Z, you put a mark between it. All right. So again, yes. Yeah, whatever.
Jake, I
All
don't know
right.
how you pulled
Here
it.
we go. Now, listen, the radical test. Some of you made some careless mistakes on. All right. So once again, I'm just going through this because it's been a long time and we need to review this. All right. Again, I keep saying and stressing you guys have standardized tests coming up.
Is there an entrance?
This is something you need to know. All right, for sure.
Is there an entrance test for?
Yes, yes, that's why I'm saying practice. All right, here we go. Let's knock these out real quick. It won't take us long. All right, the square root of 18 breaks down to what?
3, 2.
Yes, you are correct.
Oh, no, I meant.
You're right. I know what you knew. I know what you mean. So square root of 9 is what?
3.
That's why we have -3. And then the square root of x to the 4th.
X to the second.
And then you're left with a 2 inside. Bless you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any issues? And if I'm not mistaken, I wrote on several of yours, you're so close to being good, you're just making too many little mistakes. All right, here we go. Let's check out number 4. All right, now on this one, recall plus or minus 4. 12 breaks down to 4 times 3, x to the 8th and x, because your variables have to be even. So what's the square root of 4?
2.
So with that 4 outside, that makes it a what?
8.
So plus or minus 8,
Then X to the 4th.
x to the 4th, radical
3x.
3x. Everybody okay with that? Square root of 288.
That's a good question.
I know it is.
That's why you get it.
2 times
Oh,
144.
that makes sense. 12. 12 in the second.
12 radical 2. Everybody good with that? All right, here we go. What is the square root of 6 times the square root of 6?
6.
And then square root of 6 times -5.
-5 right. 6.
All right, now we're multiplying. So we have to go 2 times 2, which is 4. First smiley face. Second smiley face. And then this guy times this guy becomes -5. And then what happens to the middle terms in this one? They cross out. And 4 minus 5 is -1. Okay, who remembers what 48 breaks down to?
9.
I don't think so. Thank you very much. 16 times 3. So what's the square root of 16? Square root of x to the 16th. And 3 is left behind. Okay. Now, don't forget when you're dividing, you have to rationalize. So just multiply the top and bottom by radical 5. So this was 2 radical 5 over 5. Anybody have any issues with that? Okay, plus or minus. 125 breaks down to who can tell me? What was it? Thank you very much. 25 times 5. Odd exponent breaks down to the even, then leave y to the 10th. Plus or minus, what's the square root of 25? What's the square root of x to the 8th? What's the square root of y to the 10th? Square root of y to the 10th? I didn't hear you. Y to the 5th? Square root 5x is left behind. Everybody okay with that? Now, 864 was the one that the exact same problem on the review that I tried to explain. It's just breaking it down, correct? Does anybody remember what it breaks down to? What? 2 and what? No, we wouldn't do 2. Let's divide by 4 because 4 goes into 8 and 64. So I want you to write down 4 times 4 goes into 8 twice, 4 goes into 6 once, and 4 goes into 24. There you have it. Now 4 goes into 216. 4 times 54. And then, of course, 54 is 9 times 6. All right. Now, what's the square root of 4? 2. What's the square root of this 4? 2. And then, of course, what's the square root of this 9?
3.
3. There you have it. Now, the x squared is okay. The y cubed needs to be made y squared and y. So what's the square root of x squared? What's the square root of y squared? Thank you. What's left behind? And what else? Don't forget the 6 and the y. And so 2 times 2 times 3 is 12xy, square root 6y. Yeah, that was hard. All right, now number 20. You have to write it twice. 5 minus 3 radical 2. 5 minus 3 radical 2. So 5 times 5 is what? 25. First smiley face is how much? Yes, negative 15 radical 2. Second smiley face, negative 15 radical 2. And now the hard part. Negative times a negative is a, so 3 times 3 is 9. And then what's radical 2 times radical 2? 2. All right. So what's 9 times 2 now? Right. So now 25 plus 18. And then negative 15 and negative 15. There you have it. All right, that was kind of hard. Okay, 22. Square them individually. Negative 4 squared is 16. Square root of 3 squared is 3. 16 times 3 is 48. And last one. Square root of x times square root of x. Good job. Very good. Uh-oh. Good job. And then finally, and what happens to the middle term? X minus 1. Okay. Now, once again, guys, do me a favor. The reason I put this up here was just because it's been a while, and I think radicals are important, and you've got tests coming up, so I want to make sure I'm constantly reviewing a little bit. All right. So homework, for sure, listen to me. For sure, everybody's doing the what? Odds here, right? And someone asked me in the last class, I'm not trying to burden you. So if you did really good on the radical test, then there's no reason to review, right? If you didn't do so well on the radical test, I think it would be a good idea for you to look over the test. Now, I have the recording of all of the odd explanation and all of the even explanations up on the website now, or not on the website, but up on the YouTube. All right. So please concentrate mostly on the odds for the equations. And those of you guys who are trying to do better, I would, if you had trouble, look at the odds, all right, on the test, just to make sure. But I wanted to review with you that. All right, so I appreciate you guys. Today was a good job, very good. All right, get to work so you don't have so much homework. All right, and I'm going to post it right now.